order this Board of Education regular meeting Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 at 7:03 p.m. Can we get a roll call?
Mrs. Lella?
Here.
Mr. Poljack?
Here.
Mrs. McPhillips? Here. Mrs. Erbach Barnfield?
Here.
Mrs. Theodore?
Here.
Mrs. Ferrari? Mrs. Trabuzio?
Here, we have a quorum. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lauren, would you read us the mission statement?
The mission of North School District 80 is inspiring educational excellence in a nurturing environment.
Thank you. Celebrate the success.
Thank you. So we have some students joining us this evening. And these are students from both Lee and Giles. And we invited the student who showed the most growth on their iReady diagnostic from the beginning of the year through the middle of the year in both ELA and math for each grade level to come join us this evening. So on the next slide, we'll see a list of students who will receive this honor in math. So I will call up some names and ask them to come on up. So Angelina. And you go all the way over here, skip right on the back line. This is so beautiful for you, so skip right there for me. Michael. Alice. And Adler. And fifth grade.
Yes, so for fifth grade for math, we have Sebastian. And then for sixth grade math, we have Jacob, who is not able to make it tonight. And seventh grade, we have Maya. And then eighth grade, we have Jacob.
All right, so we thought we could have the students introduce themselves here. Do you want to start us off? Now, what was your goal? Do you remember what your goal was? 32. And your growth score was? Oh, come on, say it. You know that one. 67. All right. Michael. Growth. 71 points. And his goal was 36. Awesome.
My name is Alice. My goal was 21 points. My growth was 38 points. My name is Adler. My goal was 23 points. My growth was 43 points.
My name is Sebastian and my goal was 537. My growth was 563.
My name is Maya. I wanted 465 and I got 493.
My name is Shane. My goal is 5. My goal was
All right, can we give all of our students here? Can I get you guys to take one step back, a big step, and then we'll call up some friends for our reading ready assessment. They can come up to the flat line here and do the same thing there. So I'd like to ask Luna to come on up. You stay right here for me. Perfect. And Michael, you get to come back up here again because you had the top girl score for reading as well. Teresa. Massimo. And Nicholas. You want to start us off, Luna? Can you tell everyone your name?
My name is Luna. My goal is
134. That's a big number. That was a lot of growth. Congratulations. Michael. Michael went up 109 points. That's amazing. Congratulations.
We would like to call up Kaylee in 5th grade for the most growth in reading. Congratulations. We would also like to congratulate Sophia in 6th grade, Jacob, and Vasily, who's not able to attend, and Libby. Do you want to share your story?
My name is Kaylee. My goal was 618 and my growth was 644.
Once again, we just want to congratulate all of you for doing such an amazing job and showing the most growth in your grade level. And would our Board of Education like to come on up and take a picture with our students here? You guys get to stay right there. Actually, you're that fast.
Stand up a little bit. So everybody look at me. Try to hold it consistent right where you're from. So then I'll take that. Really lower yours just a little bit. There you go. Okay, say growth goal. Growth goal. That's a mouthful, isn't it? We are honored to have you here with us today. I'm really proud of all of your work. I don't know you very much. Parents, thank you very much. So keep it going for the springtime too. Of course, you are all welcome to stay for the meeting tonight, but we do understand if you need to leave. But you're welcome to stay. Thank you very much. You too.
That's a given. Yeah, let's see your certificate.
Great job.
modifications being the removal of 17 closed session. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Amanda?
Second.
Jim? Roll call. Or all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Recognition of visitors. Thank you for one visitor. Correspondence, anything else?
I did include on your table tonight a letter from the Village of Norwich. I'll be speaking about this in my discussion item, but I did include a copy of it.
Thank you. Public participation. Lots of FOIA requests, but they can be found at the district website for review, as they are every month. On to 11, presentation, item middle of the year map and reading data.
Dr. Rapiola is going to be sharing the middle of the year reading and math data from iReady for Giles and for Lee tonight. And then he's going to go into more specifics about Lee, and then we'll hear more about Giles next month. Mr. Diecki is actually ill tonight, so he can't be with us. But we'll hear all about Giles next month.
Alright, so let's start by taking a look at math. And this is looking at our growth from mainly looking at our winter assessment. This was taken before winter break, the second week of December. So on this graph here, what you'll see is this is where our district scored. And this is all students in your school district. So you'll see about 13% of our students are 2 or more grade levels below where they need to be, about 13%. But I think what's really important is to also look at what what that looks like throughout the state of Illinois and what that looks like throughout the nation. I think one of the things when we're looking at iReady is this is an assessment that's used in quite a few schools. So when you see the national year-to-date, you can see that's about just over 5 million students who took this assessment this same time. So this is comparing us to those other 5 million students. And when we're looking at Illinois, we're about 214,000 students who took it. So a pretty good number of students. So here we had about 13% that were 2 or more grade levels below, about 45% that are considered 1 grade level below, and if we do the math, about 42, 43% who are early on grade level or mid or above. Of course, this is where we want all of our students to be, is in that green area. But I think it's also worth looking at, well, where's the rest of the state and where's the rest of the country? Are we tracking above that? And the good news is, well, we are. So this is some really interesting information because this shows us where students are in meeting their typical growth and their stretch growth. So typical growth is what we want our students to hit their goal by the end of the year. So you heard from a lot of students who were here sharing their growth, and they did a phenomenal job in meeting their typical growth and exceeding their typical growth. Many of them have already met their stretch growth. But what we're looking for here, if we're looking for half of our typical growth, because we're about halfway through the school year, what do those percentages look like? So in kindergarten, about 64% of our students have met half of their typical growth. So this kind of shows us who's on track to meeting that typical growth measure and who may not be on track. And it doesn't mean that that's the end all be all, it's just one data point. At that particular moment in time, this is where the students were. And I also just want to mention that we do take the middle of the year assessment early in the window. There are some students that might still be taking it at this point in the year into January, but that's one of the things that we like to try to get done before winter break, so that way we can get our planning in place for after the winter break, we can get our next round of interventions in place, because all of those decisions rely on But kindergarten, 64% are meeting half that typical growth. First grade, 55%, second grade, 68%, so on and so forth. And remember, this is in the area. And just want to note that this is nothing about achievement. This is not how well our students are performing on this slide. This is just where did they come in August or September, whenever that test was first taken. And where are they now? And what type of growth are we seeing?
How is the growth goal
So the growth goal, when a student first takes that assessment in the beginning of the year, there's a formula that is used to kind of say, all right, so if this is where a student is coming in, this is the average amount of growth that a student who scored that score in the beginning of the year, where they would be at the end of the year. And that's what's used to guide typical growth. Remember, that's just typical. If we want them to be on that same trajectory, so to speak, that would be typical. If we want them to have a more accelerated learning path, that's when we're looking more at the stretch growth. That goal is going above and beyond typical growth.
Thank you.
So this is a really interesting piece of information because we look a lot at iReady because it's an assessment we take throughout the year multiple times. But this correlates to IAR. So what you'll see here is that if our students showed no additional growth from when they took, and this is just Lee on this side, so 3rd and 4th grade. From when they took this in December, if they just stayed where they're at, we would predict that 39% of those students would be proficient. Which remember, the Illinois State Board of Education changed the words that they use for those categories. There used to be 5, now there's 4, and so we're looking at proficient and above proficient. So we would have 39% of our students that would fall into those categories. Now this isn't perfect, but it gives us a good idea as to where we fall when it comes to these state assessments. So when we look at our projection, if students achieve typical growth. Now this is saying out of these 227 students who took the assessment, if 100% of them met their typical growth, we would be projected to have 64% proficiency in math in 3rd and 4th grade. But if you recall from the slide previous, these are where our numbers are tracking right now in terms of students meeting half of their typical growth. So let's say we stayed on the same course and, for the remainder of the school year, 64% met and 55% met their typical growth. That's not necessarily going to get us to where, to that nice, 64% proficient number in IAR, because that's assuming 100% of the students met their typical growth. But it gives us an idea as to the students who we can target and how we can support them. All right, so when thinking about who these students are and how we support them, this is one piece of information that we can look at. What this shows us is that when students come in and take this assessment in the beginning of the school year, how much growth did they show based on if they were 3 or more grade levels below, or 2 grade levels below, or 1 grade level below. And looking at the growth, when we kind of look at it for all of our students, when students come in further behind, we're able to really maximize their growth. Where we start to see some challenge is really when they come in early on grade level, we're not seeing them grow as much. So what that tells us is that we have to look at our 2-to-1 instruction and provide different opportunities to provide more differentiated instruction and making sure we're meeting all students where they're at. It also tells us that we have good supports in place for the students who are below level. We've spent a lot of time focused around our MTSS system, multi-tiered system of supports. Those are our Tier 2 and our Tier 3 interventions. We got a lot of ways that we support our students, both academically and social emotional behavior. And we can see that the data is showing us that those programs are successful, which is great. But it's also showing us that we have some work to do for our students who are already coming in on grade level. So we'll flip from math and take a look at reading. So we're going to see the same sequence of slides. So similar kind of thing here. Here's our district. Now we have Illinois and national. So looking at this, we can see that about 55% of our students are early on grade level or mid or above grade level in reading. That's great. That's something to celebrate. Especially when you look at Illinois being at 41%, nation being at 42%. That's really something to be proud of. And we also, I can talk with this.
No, you paused. I thought we were done. I apologize.
Just needed to breathe. But 28% of our students were one grade level below, which looking at nationwide and in Illinois, a little bit below those numbers, which is great. And looking at the number of students who are 2 or 3 or more grade levels below, we can see some great trends in the data here. And similar to this slide, we took a look at for math. Here's what it looks like for reading. Now, generally we have some stronger scores for reading than we do in math. We see some grade levels dipping into the 70s or close to that. Some, the lowest we have is 59% of students making their half of their typical growth. So these are, of course, we always want to raise the bar. We want to see our students doing as best as they can. But this is helpful to see where we're at. And also, it gives us an idea. It's like, okay, if there's 73% of our students who are on track, how are we supporting, and what are we putting in place for the other 27% who might not be on track? So when we look at this, those are the types of questions that we ask. So looking at that slide that shows IAR, the correlation to IAR. So our projected proficiency, if students make no additional growth from the middle of the year, would be somewhere around 43% proficient or above proficient. Now what's interesting here is that this next one, if students achieve typical growth, we're projected to be around 53%, which was a very different number from the math that we saw a few slides ago, which was at 64%. So still some questions there, but nonetheless, interesting piece of data here. So again, similar to what we saw with our math data, our students who come in, behind where they need to be, 2 grade levels below, 3 or more grade levels below, they're making higher levels of growth. Which, in my mind, when I look at the data, I always try to, tell the story behind the data. And I think that story is that we have a lot of supports within our Tier 2 and Tier 3 systems to make sure that if a student is behind, we put a plan in place to help support them. But as we go higher up the chain and students come in having more knowledge to start the year, we do see that percentage start to drop a little bit. So, yeah, there you go, thank you. So moving into this next piece, this was a presentation that I actually worked through with all of my teams here at Lee last week. And it really was to go through our student growth and to identify students not on track and to make sure we develop targeted plans so that way we can try to get them on track. So our outcomes were identify those students, think about why they're not making that expected growth, make sure we create an action plan for them, and then determine how we're going to monitor that plan. We don't want to wait until May when we take this again. We don't want to wait until we get IAR results over the summer or next year. We want to be able to have a way of monitoring that sooner rather than later. So we are working on a protocol called Here's What, So What, Now What. The Here's What is just looking at the data. Saying, what data are we looking at? Which students are not on track? What stands out? We're not getting into the why, not getting into the weeds, just pointing out those trends. So we look at iReady. We also take fast bridge assessments. We can look at our classroom assessments and kind of think about what we're seeing in the classroom. Sometimes that one time a student took a test doesn't match what we see every day in the classroom. Those things do happen, but I would hope that those are outliers and not the norm. So we look at the here's what, identify what the data is telling us. Then we get to the so what? Why does this matter? What is it telling us? That's when you can start to unpack that and try to put some of the why behind that. Why might this be happening? Hypothesize a little bit. Identify specific skills that we might need to target or root causes that could be causing this. Maybe we saw a student who did really poorly in the geometry domain and we haven't taught geometry yet. It happens. Well, what are we going to do about it? Because we know that there are some geometry skills. Do we need to look at, is that a trend we see across a grade level? If it is, maybe we need to make sure we take a geometry unit and flip it a little bit earlier so that way we make sure we teach that before we take all these assessments that happen to include that on there. And it always seems to be geometry. I don't know why. It could be that maybe a student is just not showing engagement in class. Or, one of the other things that we've been working a lot on, Mr. Credible can attest to this, is attendance. Are they actually here to learn? Because if they're not here, well, that's a challenge. So those are all things that we need to look closer at and make sure that it's all part of this package when we're looking at the data. So that's the so what, tries to get us to the why. So now what? What are we going to do about it? So what are we going to do differently? How is instruction going to look different? What is the support going to look like? When is it going to happen? How are we going to fit this in? Those are those real questions that we have to ask. So we look at instructional strategies, intervention strategies, different ways of doing what we do. Possible groupings of students. It could be a grouping in a class. It could be, hey, I see that, Ms. McPhillips, you have a student who's struggling with this concept too, so I'm going to pull that from you, and then I'm going to send you one, and then we work on that together. There's all different ways that our teachers can work together to make sure we're supporting all of our students. So we need to make sure we're doing that. And then, of course, we need to know how we're going to measure that. We have a variety of assessments that we utilize, so we would use one of those progress monitoring tools for that. So when I say a plan should include who the students are that are off track, what we're going to do to make sure that we're increasing our student growth, and how we're going to measure that. And then this next piece is that I'm also setting individual meetings with each teacher where we can review what their plan is so that I can have a better understanding of what it is, who the students are that are off track, and what it is that their planning and how they're going to support that. And that could be times where, hey, that sounds like a great plan, or, maybe we need to, work on that plan together and make sure that it sounds like a solid plan. But my goal is for every student who's not on track is that we have a plan in place and we know how we're supporting them. So I'd love to see that at 100% of all of our students making typical growth. But if we don't take these steps and making sure that we're having those conversations, then there's no real way to monitor that. This is just what our next step is. So I wanted to share that with you, just so that way you can see a little bit more about what it is that we do on a daily basis here. And I think that was the last slide.
It is.
But I am open for any questions.
As far as what's right there about where the state level is at. Definitely some areas of improvement, seeing where some of the other, parts of the state falls, and that would be going in this direction.
Thank you for sharing.
And I'm glad it's very data-driven. Because without these measurements, you're going to
I'll just state, I'm very excited about hearing about the individual meetings that'll be taking place in a couple of weeks and hearing about those plans and then of course watching that progress monitoring data as we go along. Very excited to hear that. It's a great plan that you've put together. Okay. All right, any other questions? Thank you very much, Dr. Randall.
Administrative reports, Superintendent Mrs. Kuzic.
Yes, my report is all in discussion tonight.
Okay, good reports, Giles School, Mr. Getke isn't here.
Mrs. Gulo will speak.
Okay,
Yes, I will share on behalf of Mr. Biecki. The 7th grade JV boys basketball team won tonight versus us, so they're heading to the championship on Thursday at Ridgewood. That is super exciting. We will find out about varsity tomorrow. The game is at 4 o'clock at Elm School, and they will be still going to the tournament on Thursday, either for 3rd place or the championship. We also are starting the 2nd semester this Monday, January 26th, so that means 7th grade will be going to STEAM and 8th grade will be going to writing. And that is the end of his report.
thank you. Lee School, Dr. Ramila.
Thank you. So just want to, well, first of all, highlight that on Thursday, we have our talent show coming up. And this is the largest lineup for the past 5 years. I believe we have 25 acts lined up, so should be quite the show. Also, some other fun events. There's some dodgeballs around the corner. We have a kindergarten family engagement night that is planned in February. Otherwise, I think I covered a lot of the rest of my report within the presentation earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. Discipline reports, Giles, Mrs. Gulo.
We have one student with an in-school suspension for violating policy 7:190, number 9, number 11, and number 23. That is the end of my report.
Thank you. Lee, Mr. Brown.
We have no reports.
Okay, thank you. Board committees. Education, nothing to report unless you touch on anything in discussion. Board policy development will be addressed in your discussion. Building grounds as well. Behavioral intervention, I don't think so. Negotiations, human resources, maybe in your discussion. Finance.
So we've had about, I want to say,
half of what we should have received in so far for the tax dollars. Mrs. Gruzik and I have been attending virtual meetings for a coalition of superintendents and CSBOs in Cook County. Some districts have been more impacted than we have because they've taken out tax anticipation warrants, and then not only did they have to take out those warrants, when they had to make the payments on them, they still didn't have tax dollars. Our impact was we had to end one of our investments early. So we still got interest on that investment, but not as much as we would have if we went out the full time. But that's been our biggest impact. So compared to some other districts, we're having a smaller impact. So some of these other districts are actually passing resolutions and then submitting those to the county, asking them for answers and almost like restitution for what they've lost in the tax anticipation warrants, what they've lost in interest. In general, it's a large amount of money that the school districts have lost. And so what they had said is that February is when we're gonna get our next installments. We really don't know much about the spring yet, if it's all gonna go according to plan, because the bills are supposed to go out March 1st. We do April 1st, and then we're supposed to get payments, but we're not sure how that's gonna work. And I think the biggest thing for our district and every district is the frustration and no one's really saying exactly what's going on. So it's hard to plan. So even if we're making plans, we're always like looking, and it's day by day. I'm checking our fund balances. Do we need to do another resolution to move money? Do we need to do this? Do we need to do that? When are we gonna get the money? It's very hard to plan and just, be good stewards of our funds if we don't know where those funds are or when we're gonna get them. But just moving along.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Communications, I understand, Jim, you've got to work on next newsletter that will be released. Norwich Park District, we'll be touching on that discussion. And without any further ado, discussion items.
Thank you. So on January 26th, next Monday, the Superintendent Advisory Committee, we are tackling the Student Parent Handbook. Really excited about getting some input on the parent side for the Student Parent Handbook. I've distributed paper copies to all of the parents on the committee because I think sometimes when you hold a paper in your hands, it's a little easier to read it and digest it and write notes. So very excited to see what will come out of that. Much of the policy is, of the handbook, is policy. So there's not a lot we can change, but we could tweak some things. So I'm really excited for their input next week. Summer school and ESY, we are on our way planning that. So just a reminder to the board, summer school is a tuition-based program in the district. ESY is extended school year, which is offered to students with special needs and when they have an IEP, and the IEP team decides when a student qualifies for ESY or not. So not all students with IEPs qualify for ESY, but everyone is welcome to attend summer school. So the dates are June 9th through June 26th. We're going to start with the teacher survey sending out to see what teachers are interested in working. And I'm sorry that it has no school on June 19th, which this year's a Friday, so that's a little bit nicer. To have it on a Friday instead of during the week. 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Registration is going to open via a Google form on March 1st. We're going to end that registration on April 10th so that we can work out staffing for the program. Summer school, I am recommending $175 for summer school. ESY, as I mentioned, is free to students who qualify. And then we will be offering a small amount of students to be invited to attend summer school tuition free through the Title I grant. That grant is still in place right now this year. And we have set aside some dollars to offer students who are Tier 2 or Tier 3 or part of our ML program into free tuition. So we'll be sending out individual letters to those parents to let them know, and hopefully they take advantage of the program. It's always been a good program. We've gotten great feedback. This is an increase. I am recommending a $25 increase from last year on the 175, and I would like to bring that to the board next month for approval, and then start signing. There is still, and I believe will still happen again this year, the Norwood Park program, which is held in July, that is open to District 80, District 79, and District 86. Last year they ran that program at Ridgewood. I would say that's probably still going to run at Ridgewood, since there's so much construction happening at schools during the summer in all of our schools. 26-27 registration, wow, that's time. So we would like to open registration, that would be right after summer school closes. We're hoping to open registration on April 17th. This will be a very similar system to what you saw last year, where you'll have one continuous form that returning parents would fill out, and guardians, that has all the information. They then also would be uploading all of the proofs of residency at the same time. We are exploring moving away from Pushcoin, which right now is, Pushcoin is where we do all of our fees for tuition, curriculum, and lunch. So what we're proposing is to move to My School Bucks. And we would move to My School Bucks. We kind of run both programs for a couple of months. We would move to My School Bucks in April in order to pay for fees for fees or tuition, but then continue the lunch with Pushcoin until the end of this year, and then start up the lunch program with My School Bucks next year. So a couple reasons for this move. We're finding that My School Bucks is much more family friendly. The screens are much more friendly, how you make payments is very friendly. Also, you can access My School Bucks through Pushcoin. Through PowerSchool, excuse me. As you know, one of the feedbacks and the goals that I have received from parents is we just have too many systems. I have to go to Pushcoin, I have to go into PowerSchool, I have to come into Mastery Connect, and it's just too much. We're trying to streamline that. So when you would sign into your PowerSchool account, which is the account used for registration, there will be on the left-hand side a little icon to go into My School Bucks. So you can go in, register, pay for your curriculum, all right at the same time, right in the same place, and very easy, friendly interface for families. Of course, we would have to train people on that, but it's actually very, very simple. So we're in the transition mode right now, trying to get ourselves a little more settled into understanding My School Bucks well, and then hope to bring that to the board all for approval moving forward. Speaking of fees, I am proposing that we keep the fees the same as they were last year. And if early bird fees are paid by May 29th, they'll be $275. Anything after May 29th would be $325. It's the same thing we did for this year, and this is of course for returning students. Any new students to the district, we would charge the $275. Then kindergarten tuition, I am proposing to keep that the same at $3,000. That is, next year we are last year collecting kindergarten tuition, 27, 28. We will be going to full day kindergarten for everyone for free under the state mandate. I am proposing extracurricular sports being $160. Currently this year it's $145. So that's going up a little bit in my proposal. And then band going up a little bit as well to $260, which currently is $245. Difference is everything has gone up. Transportation has gone up. The fees for the umps and the refs have gone up. So the proposal is about $15 more, which isn't a great amount, but so it almost keeps some of our fees. It will keep some of our fees the same, and then just a small increase. And I would highly recommend that when parents register, they just go right in, pay the fees, get the $275 over with, and then we don't have to deal with the additional $50 charge, which would happen on May 3rd. Any questions about fees or registration? Can't believe we're talking about that already. So tonight I am asking you to approve the 26-27 school calendar. It's pretty much the same what I brought to you last month with a couple of exceptions. August 21st it's a Friday, that would be the first half day. August 24th is that next Monday, would be the first full day for students. Graduation would be June 2nd, that is pending approval from Ridgewood. They could change it, but that's where we are right now. Last day of school being Friday, June 4th. That would put 4 institute days, August 19th and 20th, so 2 right at the beginning of the year for the teachers. September 17th, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, I think the next slide. And now we are actually putting November 2nd down as an institute day. I'll go through that in a moment as well. School Improvement Day is October 9th, which will pair up next to Columbus Day, which is the Monday, so the Friday, Monday, so parents can take advantage if they'd like to take a long weekend. January 15th, which will pair up with Martin Luther King Day, Friday to Monday, and then February 12th, which will pair up with President's Day. We find that we're really excited that our families do like to take a lot of nice long weekends. We really encourage them to take those long weekends when we're not in school, so that the students aren't missing school. As Dr. Rabinola talked about absence and how important it is for a student to be in school. Along that same line, looking at our holidays, they, as I just mentioned, all will stay the same. We do have a November 3rd election day that we are taking off, completely off, as just a non-attendance day. So what we did is we paired one of the institute days with that on November 2nd. So the students actually wouldn't have school on Monday and on Tuesday that week. That would be another nice opportunity for our families to take some time off or go on a trip that's not a normal time that everybody else in the world is off. So families might be able to take advantage of that, so they'd actually have a 4-day weekend there. Keeping with our normal traditions, Thanksgiving week, we have that week off as a fall break week. We have winter break, which is 2 weeks, and then spring break. Please note, spring break is a week earlier than it regularly is. We follow Ridgewood's schedule with spring break, so that is Ridgewood spring break, and we are using the same week. Typically, it's been the week after, where it starts off March and goes into April. So I've been mentioning it to everyone. If you're already planning next year's spring break, please note that date is going to be different. Any questions? Originally, last month, we had talked about keeping the Teachers Institute Day in March. We feel it would be more valuable to have a November 2nd Teachers Institute Day. It's better for us to get working on data early, plus it's a nice time to give our families some time off.
Isn't there also one for Friday before Memorial Day?
That's the date that I'm talking about. We typically take that day, so we move that one. So we wouldn't have that Friday before Memorial Day anymore. A lot of times that's a useful day for us, but we feel that for next year, because we are looking at some curriculum changes, we want to be able to meet with the teachers earlier. Any questions? Okay, so September 17th, which is a Thursday, and I've been talking a little bit about this already. It is an institute day next year, but the staff will be in, all the full staff, and it is our coordinated lockdown active shooter safety exercise with our community safety partners. Remember, the purpose of this exercise is to allow the school staff and first responders to practice and refine emergency procedures, ensuring that everyone is well prepared, well trained, and if there is a real emergency. The students are not in session in any of the schools involved. Schools involved being Knoyer, Union Ridge, of course District 80, Giles and Lee, and Ridgewood. So our first communication is set to go out to all families next Monday, January 26th. This communication will outline What's going to happen that day? We'll outline all of our community partners and just start a regular round of communication to the community, not just to our community, but to the community all around us in Norwich and Howard Heights. This is going to be a big event. People all need to know about it so that people know, A, to stay away from the area the best that they can, and also that it is a safety exercise, that it's not a real event happening, it's just a safety exercise, very important safety exercise. So please look out for my first communication to come out. The communications, by the way, are all scripted from the committee writing them together. So the communication that you're going to see come out from District 80 will be the same as that is sent out from the village, the same that is sent out from District 234, and from 79 and from 86. We also do have a website set up. We have a Gmail or email set up, so if people have questions, we have places for them to go to answer it. And then throughout the time, the next, 8 months till we get to September, we'll be communicating about this event. The staff is going to do like a little trial exercise here within our district on March 17th, which is our next Institute Day. Also an election day. Any questions about this event? Okay, tonight I'm asking the board for approval on our summer projects. We've been talking about all of them, so there's nothing really new here. The wood ceiling at Giles, we don't have a definite next steps for, but we will before we get to the summer. South classrooms at Giles, painting furniture, lights, removing the sinks, adding additional storage, and then pretty extensive brickwork at Giles on the east wall, the lintel, tuck pointing the chimney, and then we have added the softball diamond, which will require some painting and then some replacing of some fencing. There's also on the board agenda tonight, an action item, an intergovernmental agreement with the Park District. The purpose of this agreement is it's a dual purpose where the Park District can use the Lee Gym on Wednesday, starting tomorrow actually, if this is passed, until the end of March. And then this is an exchange for the home soccer games that'll be held. We already held the one season back in October for the, the boys, and then we'll be doing the girls in May. And really exciting, they have purchased the soccer goals now. So our B&G guys don't have to move them back and forth, which they were doing every game. This agreement had originated from their council, is also been approved by our council. Also in consent tonight is a special education transportation agreement with Safeway Transportation Services Corporation for 26-27. You're going to now see me bringing you a lot of 26-27 agreements. This agreement has a 5.2% increase. I am recommending that we don't go to bid for transportation at this point, that we take this increase and then, we see where that goes for next year, and then we may be sitting in here next year this time and decide to go to bid. But right now, I think we're good going with this increase. And again, this is just for special education transportation. So the policy committee met on January 15th and reviewed press policy 120. Just two things I want to highlight from that meeting. And one is the Public Law 104-32, which is a new law that requires districts to offer age-appropriate mental health screening to students in grades 3 through 8. There's already been some information out there in the media about this, and we'll certainly give you, the board, some more updates and our parents some more updates before we get there. It's because it's beginning with the 27-28 school year. And this is interesting because this is one of the things that families can opt out of. It's important to note that we already do in District 80 some mental health screenings for all the way down from kindergarten to 8th grade. So this is going to look a little bit different than what we do right now, because in 3rd and 4th grade, the students don't take the screening, the teachers take it about the students. So this will now require the students to actually do an age-appropriate health screening. And again, I'm going to share a lot more about this before we actually get there, but just wanted to point out that that is part of Press 120. The other interesting part is 104-20, which eliminates the requirements on teacher or principal or assistant principal evaluations to consider growth as a significant factor. So you may recall from your para training for the board members that growth in an evaluation for teachers, principals, and assistant principals was deemed a significant factor in the state of Illinois. However, this law will now change that so that you don't have to use growth as a significant factor anymore. Currently, our evaluation plan has 75% of the evaluation plan is professional practice. So it's a rubric that is gone through with the teachers and the staff who is evaluating them. And 25% comes from growth, which we've looked in the past at MAP growth, which has gone from fall to spring, or sometimes we've done winter to winter, depending. Right now, we're currently fall to spring growth on iReady that Dr. Babiola actually did showcase some of tonight. This now eliminates that as being a significant factor. It doesn't mean it has to be a factor. It doesn't mean it doesn't have to be a factor. It just means that if you want to take it out, you can through negotiations with your association. We have had, Mrs. DeBoer and I have had some general conversations with NEAT leadership on if we want to change anything in our significant growth. We're not there right now, but just know this could become something that we could negotiate in the future. And it would need to be negotiated by both sides. So those are just two interesting things. And 120, as I'm sure our two board members that were on the committee, had a lot to do with footnotes and legal references and just a lot of stuff that, you know, is important to update, but not really important to our functioning in a daily policy. Second tonight, the policy updates of the 700s. This is on second read. We brought these up last month as well on first read. Looking at those policies, just pull it up really quickly on what was, most of this was just clarification. This was on district read policies, not through press. So our policy committee read all the 700s and then just made some suggestions about things to change. Those were outlined in board book. Any questions about any of the 700s? Then one final policy tonight on the board agenda is policy 5:250. The policy committee meeting reviewed this policy as well for district edits. Two sections. Child rearing leave section said the board shall grant a professional staff member's request for a non-paid child rearing leave. We're making a suggestion of changing the shall to may. And similarly, on the second section, leaves to serve as officer, trustee, or representative of a specific organization. So this would be if a teacher or a professional staff member wanted to serve on a board, and again, it's upon request the board will grant. We would like to change to may grant. Doesn't mean that the board won't do it, but we'd like to leave that flexibility to the board to make that decision. And both of those are fine changes with leave. So that is also on the board agenda tonight. Any questions? Great. Lincoln Investments LLC reached out to us, just simply wants to be added as an option for a 403B provider of one of our plans. Just requires board approval. This is no cost to the district. This is just if a teacher chose to use Lincoln Investments as part of their plan. We use a company that goes through and kind of keeps us legal with all of our 403B plans and all our investment plans. This is again on the teacher side, not our district's plans. And so this would just be another option for the teachers. So 2 board meetings that we need to discuss tonight. Starting with January 1st, the state has put out a mandate that board meetings cannot be run on election days. Our board meeting, which I know we were excited about, March 17th, we need to change the date of it. It's doing a snarky little St. Patrick's Day thing there. So we are suggesting one of the following dates, but this is open to board discussion. Maybe March 10th, which would keep it on a Tuesday, but put it a week earlier. Or we could look at March 18th, which could be that next day. The tricky thing about March we have to be careful of is we have a lot of days in there of conferences, so kind of watching that as well. Which it is possible, next year we do have some conferences on it on a board night, so it is possible if you wanted to look at the Monday or the Thursday, for example. But we would probably need to take action on this next month, February, to change it official. The other is the June board meeting, just reviewing some end of the year requirements. We discovered that we had put the June board meeting on June 16th, which is the second Tuesday. We probably really should run it on June 23rd. We couldn't think of a reason why we did it. We don't remember you having a reason for doing it, so we think it was just in there. We could leave it the 16th, or we could change it to the 23rd to keep the same pattern of the third Tuesday. We just discovered this a couple weeks ago. So do you want to check your calendars on the March dates? March 10th, March 18th? Do you prefer to keep it on a Tuesday?
Am I looking at the wrong calendar? Is June 16th the third Tuesday?
Oh, maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Hold on, maybe I've written it wrong. Excuse me, please. No, I probably wrote it wrong. I'm sorry. We have it the 23rd. I'm sorry. We have the 23rd, it should be the 16th. Thank you for checking that, I appreciate it. So it currently should be the 16th, and it's written out as the 23rd. So are we okay leaving it, moving it to the 16th on June, keeping it with our pattern?
That is the third.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Amanda is correct. That is the third Tuesday. And then what do we think about March?
Well, I did make both work out, and if we could do, let's say, the 18th, that'd be helpful, because of prior obligation of the 10th.
It could be better too, because I think that the girls' basketball tournament might be on the 10th as well, the third first place games. So that might be better since we're hosting too. If everyone is okay moving it off of a Tuesday.
Is that possible? Let's say the 18th? So do anyone mind, or would you tentatively say that?
Sure. And then if in the month anything comes up, just reach out, we'll figure it out. Okay, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, we have received a donation from the Village of Norwich, $2,500 donation that the principals are looking at planning something that could go directly to the students. We haven't figured that out exactly what we're going to do. I believe what I shared to you in a memo was the village sold anything that they could sell in the former Divine Savior land. Then they took that money and they split it up amongst different organizations within the Village of Norwich, which is the letter that we received. Very exciting. It's always nice to get the donation that we can bring right back, right to the students. And that is my report.
through 15J. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Penny and Lauren? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Puljan?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. 16, board comments. Any comments, discussion on anything you heard or want to bring up? No. During closed session, we will move right on to action items. 18A, consider a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement with the Norwich Park District. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Jim, Maria. Roll call, please.
Mr. Puljan?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve 19A? Let's consider motion to approve Dylan Golden, Buildings, Grounds, and Maintenance Seasonal Assistant. 19A2, consider motion to approve Ann Qureshi as lead tennis show coach. 19B1, consider acceptance of the retirement letter from Tammy DeCinto for June 30th, 2026. And 19C1, consider motion to approve foster parent leave for Cody Masters. And 19C2, consider motion to approve FMLA leave for Claudia Triba for 8 weeks. Can I get a motion? Maria, Benny, roll call, please.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mr. Puljan?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barfield?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. I need a motion to adjourn this meeting at 8:11. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The meeting is now adjourned.